recap, where I'm gonna go over briefly what we've done as well as some of the rest of the division and a little bit of the highlights from the rest of the league. So first thing that happened was Mitch Morse retired, which is perfectly fine. He was on a 1 year deal anyway, and we have Chandler Culver, who we drafted in the second round last year, ready to take his place at center. So that should be fine. We also let our star right tackle Braden Smith walk in free agency, but replacing him is big free agent signing Jordan Mailata, who will be moving from left tackle to right. He got 3 years, 73 million, to reunite with some of these Eagles coaches who brought him into the league. Also moving on in free agency was Zach Moss. So hopefully we're going to be replacing him with the fifth round running back Will Boatwright, who is a similar kind of power back. Meanwhile, Dominique Campbell, Jarquez Hunter still there, but they're primarily receiving threats. So we'll continue to use them in some of the more passing downs. Also without Samson Ebikam, who had a pretty not great year last year anyway. Kind of an underwhelming signing for this team. So we also brought in Shaq Barrett as a late free agency signing, just for 4 million. He's getting older. But hopefully he's still got a little bit left in the tank, and this doesn't turn into a Cam Jordan situation. So then we got Nick Cross left. That's not really a big deal because we got a million backup safeties. It'll still be Dark Forest and Julian Blackman starting. Alec Pierce, another kind of whatever departure. Jalen McMillan was really taking that wide receiver 3 spot. Josh Downs, we did trade away to Carolina for with a pretty hefty package of picks to get their third rounder, 2 fourths, and Josh Downs for a third. So on the pick value chart, it basically equates to saying that Josh Downs is worth a fourth round pick. And he only had about 200 yards for us last year. We kind of benched him for McMillan midway through, so won't miss him, but wish him the best of luck in Carolina, where he probably figures to be their wide receiver 1, um, which says a lot about the state of Carolina's receiving core. Uh, but elsewhere, Jelani Woods is gone, so we still might be looking at trying to get a third tight end. Probably a younger guy, or see who's on the league's practice squads. And then the linebacker Bumper Pool. But we drafted a couple different linebackers who might replace him. We got Brian Horton, who sucks apparently. He's only a seventh round pick, but at 62 overall. Certainly don't have too high of expectations for him. And then we did get a UDFA linebacker who's 64 overall, but he does have star dev and that pretty nice speed. So at least in coverage, he should be okay. Let's see. The last of the draft picks is we tried to get an edge rusher, trying to replace Ebikam. This was before the Barrett signing. We drafted Brian Jones here. He was our third round pick. So yeah, not all that great. 66 overall matches his number on the jersey. Kind of a speed rusher, but really not all that great against the run. So we'll see if we can develop him a little bit. But the really only player from the draft that I'm really excited about is Luke Bowens, the guard here out of Georgia. He's a physical freak. I mean, the 91 strength, and you look at 69 speed, 80 acceleration, really good for a guard, 72 agility. He was like first or second in pretty much every drill at the combine. So he'll probably be the heir apparent to Quentin Nelson because cap is starting to get a little tight. And then we rounded out the draft with Deontay Reed, a defensive tackle who might get on the roster as a fourth DT if we cut Bugs or move him to the practice squad. We'll see. So that was our off season. The elsewhere in the division, we got the Jaguars. Really short on money. They had to franchise tag Trevor Lawrence. They couldn't agree to a long-term deal, so he is back. They're able to extend somehow. Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk got new contracts. That left Evan Ingram as the odd man out. So they drafted a tight end, Zach Rogan here, 7th overall. And at 74 overall, he should be able to start at least for them. Good hands, it looks like. Maybe not quite the route runner that Evan Ingram is, though. And he also got a really nice interior defensive lineman, Greg Bonner, who, so he'll kind of round out that defensive end group. Pretty much just a run stuffer, but in a 3-4, that's what he's looking for there. Lost Andrew Wingard, but he's got a bunch of safeties. Cisco and Rapp will start, I assume. And he signed a new kicker. He's got Daniel Carlson in there after Jeffrey Meyer's contract expired. Only other major draft pick he had was this. He got Mike Chambers, 69 overall. Might see some time at corner. Then, let's see, going to the Texans. We have Titus Howard on the move. The Texans had like 6 offensive tackles who are above 72 overall. It was crazy. Devin Everett, who redshirted last year, will now be starting. Nolan Rucci is solid, but has been kind of forever a backup. And you got John Cox over here, is 77 overall, backing up Tunsil. So they got a lot. They moved Chuck Taylor was another tackle they had. He's bigger, so they put him in at guard. And then Titus Howard, who started for them last year, 76 overall, got surpassed by Everett. So Titus Howard they traded off to the Giants for basically a 4th round pick. Shaq Mason retired, so he'll be replaced by Taylor. Damian Pierce lost to free agency. And they didn't make too much of an effort to replace him. They were mostly focused on cornerback. They got Dante Jackson to upgrade that room. Not really replacing anybody, just potentially kind of benching Tavier Thomas, who's not ideal as a second cornerback. And then they also signed another Broncos receiver. They got Cortland Sutton to pair up with Jerry Jeudy. So plenty of receivers now, plenty of weapons for Stroud, and plenty of tackles. Interior offensive line still a little soft, though, so we'll see how that turns out for him. They also lost John Runyon and center Kenyon Green. They drafted a center, Logan Harris, to try to replace, but not going to be an immediate impact there. Cliff Mann, though, a nice safety. They spent their first rounder on 14th overall. He'll probably start. And finally, Paul Schultz. They drafted a quarterback in the second round, and he's the 4th best quarterback on the team, but he has hit in dev. So I don't know, maybe they're anticipating not being able to pay CJ Stroud. Oh, and also their wide receiver room, they got this Terrence Gray, who's buried on the depth chart, but with 71 overall, he's pretty solid. And the final AFC South team, the team who has yet to win this division in CFL. The Titans are, I think, still going to be led by Spiegel, but Levis is the higher overall. They've got a coaching change. They fired Robert Saleh and promoted their offensive coordinator, Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski was leading one of the league's best offenses. It was just defense where they struggled. So now they're replacing the defense with Jonathan Gannon from Arizona. And they're going to continue to try to upgrade that offense with Drake London, a real big guy who can win some of those jump balls for him. But then they got another big guy in Bo Collins, or no? They got, well, Johnny Wilson's already quite a big receiver, and then Bo Collins too. But they did draft a little bit more of faster guy who's a little smaller, Sean Allen, with their second round pick. See how he figures into that offense. And then they went tight end to supplement Dawson Knox with Daniel Redd. So those were their big draft picks. They signed, and that was replacing, of course, Chika Okonkwo. They also let go of David Onyemata, but upgraded there with Eric Armstead, who's got a 2-year, $30 million contract. And they also added a linebacker, Matt Milano. Pretty important because Monty Rice seems to always get injured. And they didn't really have a ton of other great players. Julius Jones, Jack Gibbons. So, Matt Milano, late free agency signing for the Titans there. So that rounds out most of this division. Elsewhere around the league, Broncos. Okay. So I don't know. I had a list of. So the Broncos got a new coach. They brought in the Steelers defensive coordinator to try to improve their defense. And so the Sean Payton era done, and they drafted a new edge rusher here, Jack Devine. And then they got let's see. We had a couple coaching changes too. The Bears got a new one. The Jets have hired Matt Nagy, who just won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. And they proceeded to draft just all of the defensive players, basically, including they got Mac Kerr. They're running a 3-4, I think, yes. They signed Preston Smith, and they got this Mac Kerr, who's 76 overall, and Desmond Crawford, 73 overall. New England finally moved on from Bill Belichick. They're still trying to work things out with Brian Hankins, the second-year quarterback. They got him a new weapon in this first-round receiver, late first-round receiver, Sherrod Kramer, as well as signing Sky Moore. The big QB moves, you had Dak Prescott traded to the Bucks. So Dallas will be rolling with Matt Smart, who was a first-round pick last year, I believe. Dak was one of the league's best quarterbacks last year on the move. The money saved also allowed the Cowboys to sign Jalen Ramsey. So they're a very new-look kind of team. Absolutely filthy cornerback room now. And you had the Commanders let Sam Howell walk. And they signed Justin Fields, but they also drafted a pretty respectable quarterback here, Dan Allen. Seahawks had kind of a similar approach. They went after Daniel Jones in free agency, who got cut by the Giants. And then they drafted this Mark Ham, who has 99 throw power. So we'll see how he does waiting in the wings. And then I think the last new quarterback, of course, for the Giants, They had to draft somebody. They got Ray Hendricks. Looks really good. Just a mobile guy, basically. 84 speed, 94. Yeah, he's got massive shoulder pads and tiny arms. But yeah, those are most of the big moves from around the league this year. Couple other major free agent signings. You had Jalen Phillips go to the Saints, who I don't know how they're not out of money, but they're able to get a premier edge rusher. Oh, and they signed Leonard Williams, who's playing out of position. Classic stuff there. So I'll fix that. Probably, yeah, they always sign more. You fix it once and they just sign more. But anyway, those are, I think, most of the big moves. Oh, and Sam Howell ended up in Atlanta. That's the other one. He's got a 2-year deal to see if he can be their guy. And I don't think they really drafted anybody to replace him. So he'll get a shot after not doing too much with the commies. So yeah, we'll see you shortly in the regular season. That's all, folks.